That's right, the Rafale dogfight is continuing, but the breaking news coming in on the big Rafale story. The French journal Mediapart, which threw a Rafale bombshell while interviewing the former French President Francois Hollande, has now once again defended its story. Speaking exclusively to India Today in Paris, Mediapart editor Edwy Plenel says the journal has proof of what Hollande says. They cannot share it at the moment as it violates their company policy. However, they said they will publish it if Francois Hollande ever denies making the remark. So that's the big interview done by our correspondent Lavina Tandon. Listen in to what the French journal has said, defending Hollande's claims that there was a quid pro quo, virtually forcing Dassault to tie up with Anil Ambani. Listen in.
I'm at Mediapart Paris and in the office of Mr. Edwy Plenel, who is the founder, the chairman, the editor of Mediapart that has made the headlines with the interview of Hollande and the investigation on Rafale. The interview has a lot of versions. He has given other interviews also. Do you have an audio or a video recording to back up your version?
We have all the proof, but Mr. Hollande don't deny. More of that, he repeat the same thing in Montreal. And Mr. Hollande office tell to Indian press that they must quote our work. It's the reality. Mr. Hollande said to Mediapart, and there is no denying about that. And he repeat to Agence France Presse that in the deal about the Rafale, it was not the French party which imposed Mr. Amdani and the Reliance Group. It was the Indian. Mr. Hollande was in New Delhi to discuss officially as a government with the Indian government about this 36 fight plane, Rafale. And Mr. Hollande repeat Mediapart, Agence France Presse, and the office that Mr. Amdani, Reliance Group, was in this story, in this deal, at the demand of the Indian government.
The Ambanis were in the deal on the basis of a demand by the Indian government, says the French editor, and says he has Hollande on tape. Earlier, we spoke to former Union Minister Arun Shourie, who's leading the charge against the government. Listen in to what Mr. Shourie has to say now on that big breaking news. And joining me now is my newsmaker Arun Shourie, former minister in the Vajpayee government, who's led a frontal assault on the Modi government on the Rafale issue. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Shourie. My first question to you is essentially stemming from what Francois Hollande, the former French president, has said. Now, can we take what he says as face value, given the fact that subsequently the government, Dassault, and to some extent Mr. Hollande himself appeared to clarify the remarks that he originally made, saying that his government had no choice in the selection of Reliance Defence for the Rafale deal, and in fact it was the Indian government which proposed Anil Ambani's Reliance Defence as Dassault's offset partner. Can we take his original statements at face value?
No. Yes, both the original statement and the statement which he has made in Canada, he says the same thing. He says Anil Ambani was a part of the new formula which the Indian government pressed on us. Part of the new formula. And this just confirms what he has said earlier, that they had no choice. Well, I mean, I don't know what you mean by clarification. Hollande is not clarifying, meaning revising anything he has said. Now the French government, what has the French government said? They say, we had no hand in selecting Anil Ambani. Absolutely true. Nobody is saying they had a hand. In fact, they are in that way confirming what Hollande said, that they had no choice.
Because
so what is it?
Mr. Hollande to
that
AFP.
has been clarified or anything, or that has been...
Sir, in his subsequent statement to AFP, Mr.
AFP
Hollande said
AFP,
he's not
he has
aware.
said-
He's not aware if the government ever lobbied for Reliance Defence and that the partners chose themselves. This has been interpreted to suggest that he is backtracking or clarifying and has
No,
been
that's
used
not-
by the Modi government to suggest that the original statement
No,
cannot
not
be
at all.
taken at face value.
Please. But as the Quint pointed out yesterday, Rajdeep, please read the full set of remarks.
Yes.
He has said not this business that the government is not aware whether there was lobbying or not lobbying. He has said Anil Ambani was a part of the new formula that the Indian government gave the confronted the French with. Part
Yes.
of the new formula. What more do you want? So I think, and that is, it's very interesting that you point this out, Rajdeep, because it's astonishing to me that all the main media missed out this sentence from Hollande's statement in Canada. What a shame! Somebody is doctoring things, and we as media people are not even checking the original text.
Can I also raise what the Defence Ministry says?
Hollande has confirmed what he said.
Very interestingly, the Defence Ministry...
Yes, I'll come to them one by one, but
Yes.
first, Hollande,
Yes, go ahead.
first that Hollande has confirmed, in my view, confirmed what he said earlier. Second, that the French government has confirmed it, not diluted it. They are saying we had no hand. Nobody is saying they had a hand. In fact, they did not have a hand because, as Hollande said, they did not have a choice in the matter. If they wanted the contract, they had to go by what the Indians said, this new formula.
Hello?
So, there is no ambiguity from their side.
You're saying there's no ambiguity, but let's look at what the
Yes.
Defence Ministry says. The Defence Ministry says that Mr. Hollande's statement needs to be seen in its full context, where the French media has raised issues of conflict of interest involving persons close to the former president, effectively suggesting that the reports that Hollande's girlfriend or partner had got finance for her films from Anil Ambani's film distribution company reveal conflicts of interest, and Hollande is now making this statement to try and escape from those charges of conflict of interest that are being raised in France.
Now, Rajdeep, just see. First, they were saying that he has diluted his statement. Now they are saying that he is pressing his statement only because of conflict of interest. But what about the conflict of interest here? Do you think that the Defence Ministry and that the Prime Minister does not have a conflict of interest here? In the sense that his whole credibility depends on these falsehoods being purveyed.
Can I
So
make...
this business of attributing or pasting a motive on somebody else.
Yes.
Just one second.
Yes.
Till yesterday, my friend, and you can see that on the internet just now, those embarrassing photographs of Mr. Modi hugging Hollande from the front and from the back, to the great surprise of Hollande.
But
That
when
was
you
their
say... But
relationship,
Mr.
isn't
Shourie...
it?
But Mr. Shourie, when you say
And
there
now
is conflict
suddenly
of...
conflicts of interest.
No, but when you say there is conflict of interest, let's be very clear. And this is where there will be those who will say, as of now, no money trail has been proven, no corruption in that sense has been proven, and you say conflict of interest. I am presuming, therefore, you are seemingly suggesting the charge of cronyism. That Anil Ambani was there in Paris at the time, he gets what is being described by some as a sweetheart deal. Now, that could be very different from a Bofor's money trail, where clearly there was a Quattrochi who got the benefits which were part
But
of a
my friend,
commission.
this money trail, please, Rajdeep,
Yes.
these are early days, my friend, very early days. Thus far, you have already come so far that you are now looking only for one thing, and that is the so-called money trail, isn't it? So all that means nobody has been able to explain thus far how a process which had lasted for 5 years and the requirement had been fixed at 126 planes was cut to 36 planes. There is no way in which the Prime Minister can be shown to have the authority to do so.
Former
there is
Army,
this special,
former Air Force chiefs have come on record, sir. Hold on.
By a very concerned.
So former Air Force chiefs have come, and the present Air Force chief has come to answer that specific charge and suggest this was an emergency provision, which is possible in contracts of this nature. You've seen the articles that have been written by former air chiefs and the current air chief.
My friend Rajdeep, don't get fooled by this nonsense. Look at the defense procurement policy. There is a fast track procedure. That fast track procedure is only meant for operational requirements. Supposing a war breaks out, and then you are short of ammunition. So there is a fast track procedure for that. Even for that, my friend, the defense minister has to preside over a committee, and they determine. And the clause says that you have to record in writing what this emergent situation is, which requires this immediate procurement. All this has been written. It's not for capital acquisitions for planes that will come 5 years later. I mean, somebody has fooled you. And these Air Force fellows know that procedure. No, I don't want to insult people like Air Marshal Krishna Swamy and others who have written these articles, but the fact of the matter is, my request to you is, please read for your viewers just the clause relating to fast track procedure. It requires these two things: a committee with the defense minister presiding, secondly a committee with and the justification that there is a war, that kind of a justification. Now the point is that you have to explain that on 2 days before the announcement, the Foreign Secretary, Jai Shankar, a very good officer, who was, actually speaking, if you ask anybody, was in the inner circle of Mr. Modi till his retirement, along with Mr. Doval, and just these 2-3 officers were the persons who were being consulted on all these matters. Now, Doval gives briefs the press 2 days before this. He's talking about the original
deal within HAL, yes.
Including the HAL, including the planes and so on. Yes, not only with HAL, but with Dassault for the planes that were, which he says it is going on in this way. It's entirely a talk about the earlier deal. The same thing, just 10 or 12 days before this announcement, the CEO of Dassault, Trappier,
yes,
he is talking, he is giving a lecture. You can see that video now. In that, he is talking about the original deal, that yes, it is now in the final stages of negotiation,
yes,
and now we are so happy with the air chief, we are so happy with the HAL chief. Okay, so what happened with, what is the emergency in 2 days? Nobody has explained. Firstly, the procedure.
So you have questioned the procedure.
Just 1 second. Nobody has followed that. Nobody has explained that. No, second, please let me explain.
Yeah.
I'll explain to you. No procedure followed. Second, no emergency explained. And the only justification that has actually been given is by Nirmala Sitharaman for cancelling 126 planes to 36 planes. She said, oh, we didn't have the infrastructure. A government which can spend 1,20,000 crores on the first estimate for one railway line between Ahmedabad and Bombay, which can spend 3,500 crores on one statue, which can spend on its own, saying 4,000 crores on advertisements of the Prime Minister, that can't find money for infrastructure. And it is not that the planes are flying in and there is no infrastructure just now. Planes are coming in 2022.
Can I though ask, therefore,
you can't have infrastructure available till then?
Can I therefore ask you then in conclusion?
Yes.
Let's therefore look at the road ahead. The Congress goes to the CAG one day, then goes to the CBC. Now what's an FIR for corruption filed in the case? Others have independently gone to the Supreme Court. Let's be very clear. This country needs to know, beyond the tutu meme, sir, beyond the tutu meme, this country needs to know what next. In Bofors, there was a JPC. Do you believe a JPC is the way forward? I want to ask you in conclusion, what's the way forward in an election year to avoid this tutu meme?
Yes, yes, that don't give so much play to these political parties, examine the facts yourself. That's the way out. That's our job in the media. We have to examine the facts. Why are you doing this tutu mema all the time with all these characters? You are the persons who are promoting it. Second, I'll tell you what if ever I got the chance to advise the Prime Minister, which is impossible, but there is a way out. They will persuade, firstly, we should persist. And truth has a way of bursting out from nooks and crannies. Nobody expected this statement from Hollande. You wait for another week, something else will happen. Nobody expected these foolish statements from Nirmala Sitharaman and from that blogger. Every day they are being ensnared in their own lies. So persevere. That's one point for looking ahead. Second thing is, the government, if they were well advised, would make persuade Anil Ambani that, look here, you are mired in 1,21,000 crores of debt. You are selling one company after the other to do this. Your own defense company has been referred for insolvency proceedings. So you say that, Baba, I don't want to harm the country's security interests, so I am not going to pursue this matter. Let HAL take it over. He has done this in many other cases. For instance, even the metro in Delhi, from the city to the airport, in power plants, and you know what has happened to his communications thing. So that is one way. I think the second way would be that the government has, after this great confusion about how did you cut from 126 planes to 36 planes and thereby deprive the Air Force and thereby endanger our national security, they have floated a new request for proposal for 110 aircraft, isn't it?
Yes.
So they should expedite that process. That is one word. The third, my difficulty, and there are 2-3 other things that they can do. They can come forward with the facts about, for instance, the prices, for instance, the procedures. They should, because they have tied themselves up in knots. They have to get out of those knots. Even if you get new planes.
Very quickly, sir, I have 30 seconds. No JPC, no JPC, no FIR.
Just 1 second.
Very quickly, sir, I have 30 seconds. No JPC like Bofors.
Please don't deflect me.
Yes.
Yes. So don't take up the 30 seconds.
Yes.
Let me finish. The way would be for the government to reveal the facts and thereby call a closure to the debate. But the unfortunate part is, this is a government of such small men that they do not have the heart to admit a mistake, or the head to make a mistake, to admit a mistake and thereby move ahead. That's the problem.
Okay.
So we should persist.
We should persist. You mean it's the media in the end? It's the media in the end which will have to, brick by brick, find out exactly what happened in the build-up to the rejection of HAL and eventually Anil Ambani's firm getting the offset clause. It's the media again, not necessarily the courts or even the parliamentarians, but the media. Arun Shourie, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining me.
And yes. to thereby secure our security.
Okay, let's leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Shourie.
Thank you.
You've set the debate for today.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.